Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to this very special edition of The Right Stand. Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to you from one of our special studios in our brand new facility, and it's given us the opportunity to get some of our guests live into studio and have a sit-down conversation with them. But what's the construct? The construct largely is around the Israel-Hamas conflict, which is fast rolling into a war and multiple dimensions. Day 21. The larger question is there an attempt to broad brush the Palestine issue and Hamas under it itself? So give Hamas a kind of cover fire. And how long or straight is this ideological continuum? Because today is also the 27th of October, ladies and gentlemen, the day the Indian Army actually landed and allowed and saved Kashmir from the kind of brutality that was being meted out. So what happened back in 1947 into 2023, different regions, but a similar ideology or doctrine saying that anybody who does not follow our path needs to be wiped out or done away with. Now, does that have moorings in Bharat is a question we'll try and understand, and of course the larger geopolitics of it within the Middle East and how much of it will affect Bharat's growth story. So let's debate the attempt to try and broad brush Hamas under the Palestine issue.
Hello, Moto.
Will there be a negative impact of this war on Bharat's growth story, the larger aspect, but plenty of aspects which we should speak on? Joining us this evening, let's start from the far corner. D.K. Giri is with us, Sangeet Ragi, Professor Sangeet Ragi with us, Abhijit Majumdar, a quasi-colleague and also an analyst, an expert and a regular on our shows, and of course another person who I have great respect for and largely has been with us via the internet, link from far away, but today is sitting right next to me. Sir, good to have you with us, Ambassador Rajiv Dogra.
Pleasure, and congratulations on these absolutely marvelous studios. They look so subtle and so smart.
Thank you very much. We'll take that as a compliment, and let's get on, ladies and gentlemen. Ambassador Rajiv Dogra, this attempt to broad brush Hamas under the overall Palestine cause. All those who have raised concerns about Palestinian citizens have never asked this question: why is Hamas holding them back? Why are the neighboring Arab nations not opening their borders and saying Gazan civilians can go? Why are they not asking Hamas, why have they got more than 200 people hostage? These questions don't seem to be asked, but sympathy, oh no, so many people are dying in the Gaza Strip.
Well, when it started on 7th of this month, there was absolute shock around the world. We in India were horrified that something like this, and on such a scale and in the depraved manner that it happened, could actually happen in this time and age, where human rights, concern for human values had a certain kind of a basic standard. Now all that vanished in one cruel stroke on 7th of October. So we thought maybe this world reaction would last for a while, and perhaps finally that message would go and Hamas would be put to a stop by, if nothing else, by the voice of the world. But that did not happen. In fact, Hamas had its propaganda plan ready even before 7th had turned into 8th October. And look what happened. All over Europe, in America, people came out and protested in favor of Hamas.
Right.
And merged Hamas, as you very rightly said, into a Palestinian cause. The second thing, and even more disturbing, was students in universities in America, especially Harvard, who went on a propaganda drive saying that the Palestinian cause is the foremost for us and foremost for our people. Till yesterday, when the American Senate passed a resolution condemning that. So what we are witnessing today is violence combined with the power of propaganda confusing the issue. So Hamas has gone into the background, the Palestinian cause has come in front. So I think it is time that we sort of try to filter the right from the wrong. Wrong meaning Hamas, and the right meaning the larger people of Palestine who deserve
and
to
the
be
entire
heard.
overall two-state issue. But somewhere, Professor Sangeet Ragi, did those who stood up to question Israel's offense criticize Hamas's terrorist activity and butchering?
Anand, remember, if you read the, Article 6, Article 15 and Article 16 of Hamas, then the whole ideology comes crystal clear that it is a land of the Waqf. That means it's an Islamic land. Once it is an Islamic land, it cannot be shared by anyone. So they completely deny the existence of a Jewish state on Israel, despite the fact that in the history, even in Jewish land, even in the Bible, there is a description about the Jewish land, and there is a history of almost 2,500 years back. But Hamas is, putting a position that there cannot be a Jewish land over there, number one. Secondly, it is invoking pan-Islamism. And remember, the violence is the instrument that Hamas has used. The most shocking point that I realize, that the way it butchered the children, the deprived people, the armless people, nobody criticized. I didn't come out any organization saying that, look, this is not the Islam that we celebrate. This is not the ideology of Islam. On the other hand, when Israel retaliated, after days or 2 days, when Hamas gave a call that on the Friday, you remember, before Friday evening, that I appeal all the Muslim to come on the street. And the very next morning, even in India, in Calcutta, in Lucknow, Aligarh, everywhere in this country, the prayers were dedicated for, the Hamas.
Even in Jammu Kashmir,
I mean, in Jammu Kashmir. So this pan-Islamism, then the question was that why the people in this country, particularly the Muslims in the country, were fighting for the cause which is limited to a kind of a conflict between Israeli forces and the Hamas, which is a terrorist organization. Two questions that came up. One, that it is a humanitarian cause. So the valid question was that when 4,50,000 Hindus were, thrown out of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, where were these people?
Correct.
Did they raise the question of human rights? Just because they happen to be the Hindus, the most displaced people. Nobody is raising that kind of one. Number one. Number two.
Jammu Kashmir is not just Hindu. It's every non-Muslim or every Muslim who stood up also against them. They were also butchered. But the fact is, Christians, Sikhs, Hindus, everybody had to leave. It was cleansing, ethnic cleansing.
It was ethnic cleansing. Secondly, the point is that why, if it is, I'm raising a very different questions. Probably nobody has raised this question, but I'm, mustering this courage to ask and put it before your audience. That the second thing that they are my brothers. They are. What is my rista? La ilaha illallah. Right. So tomorrow a definite question comes in mind that tomorrow if there is a conflict within, and if you talk to the people in the army and they said that sometimes we have to, someday, God sake, suppose that there is a war, we have to fight 2.5 fronts war in this country. So if there is a conflict with, are the people who are at him raising the same question, raising the same slogan of pan-Islamism? Why I am saying so? When there was a CA movement in this country, then there were political parties like OSC saying that,
correct, but Sangeeta, this is a convenient argument, and there is a reason why. The Houthis attacked Saudi Arabia, At that time, where happened this whole thing about religion binds us all? When these nations are fighting with each other, at that time this whole concept is vanished.
No, it is just like that. You know what happens that within the brothers, you know, we fight. But when you have to fight against others, somebody, we and they, you know,
the entire othering comes into play.
Then you fight against, you know, within.
But this political cover fire, see, all right, religious fundamentalism is one part. You may have somebody who's a cleric and whose radical ideology, etc. But there is politically also cover fire that's being given. Everybody is wanting to watch their words. They'll talk about the cause of Philistine or Palestine. But they will never say what Hamas did is wrong. Then they'll say, oh, it's a 50-year-long war, you got to look at it in perspective, etc. Abhijit Majumdar.
Anand, you have to understand the dominant voices in media, academia, who we usually hear. Now, social media has sort of course, disrupted it a fair bit. But the dominant voices are of the left. And left and Islam share this, you know, this bond against any non-authoritarian democratic, against the entire democratic world, liberal world. In fact, they, you know, they are parasites to those kind of democracies, and they achieve their goals. However, left and Islam cannot coexist together. In every, if you look at any communist country, Islam is butchered. In Islamic countries, the left is this thing, but they come together globally to, so left, while left is mostly unelectable worldwide, the poor don't trust it, nor does it trust the poor to vote. But Islam provides street power for the left. Left provides intellectual firepower to Islam. So that is how this happens, and that is how public opinion has been, you know, traditionally shaped so far. Now that is getting disrupted. See, here India's role has come into play in this Israel-Hamas, Israel-Palestine conflict. I don't see them as different here, because you know, the fodder to Hamas, from manpower to you know, filling up the ranks with sons, with funds, money, tacit and direct support, everything comes from the ground, from the people there. So in my opinion, they are not separate. That is one. Now, you know, in this conflict, we see that the world, you know, the world order has changed from the earlier this thing where Israel is only supported by the US and West, and Middle East, the Arab nations are all sort of up against Israel. If you notice that most of the Arab nations, especially Saudi Arabia, UAE, etc., apart from perfunctory noises about you know, human rights in Palestine, they have kept quiet. In fact, one of the theories is that this whole conflict is to derail the you know, the
India,
Abraham
Middle East,
Accords
European corridor, and also the Abraham Accord. We'll come to that larger aspect in just a bit, the back half of this conversation. But DK Giriji, before I come across to you, we just want to play out an audio conversation that was released by the IDF between an Israeli defense officer and a civilian lady in Palestine. Let's just listen into this.
محمد ايوه كيفك؟ ايوه بحكي مع ضابط من الدفاع الاسرائيلي. انا عشان احكي سلامتك بدي تنزل ضروري لاتجاه خان يونس. لاتجاه خان يونس ضروري. انا بديش تخاطر حالك، فمشان هيك بدي تنزل لاتجاه الجنوب لاتجاه خان يونس. مسكر كل الطرق. طيب يا عمي، محل ما انت موجود في المكان، انت لازم وين سكر الطريق؟ حماس؟ وين ايش؟ ايوه صحيح. وين سكر الطريق؟ عن شارع صلاح الدين. صلاح الدين؟ ايوه كيف مسكروا الطريق؟ بوجه الناس مش حد يطلع، ما عاد الناس بيطلع بوجههم. اما شو هم حطوا سيارات شو سووا؟ ايوه كيف بالضبط؟ فهمني. تفضل انت شو كيف انت السيارات اللي بيطلعوا بوجههم بدون ما يرجعوا. اما كيف هم سكروا الطريق؟ فهمني. يعني كيف بتلاقي ناس هم يطلقوا نار على الناس اللي بدهم ينزلوا؟ ايوه.
Now, there are these conversations where the Gazan civilian is saying Hamas is not allowing us to leave, get out, we want to get out. There are conversations between a Hamas terrorist cadre who's saying, see the number of people I have butchered and this is what it is. And he's telling his father, see, I have sent you the video of how I have butchered them. And the father is saying, why did you do this? Come back. And he says, no, there is no coming back. Now it's aar ya par. Either we win or we die. That's the kind of how many people in India who are batting for this Palestine or trying to broad brush the entire Hamas butchery have tweeted this or taken cognizance of this DK-giri? Why?
This is unfortunate. The reactions from India is really confused, and even the political parties, there is no unanimity. It affects us very deeply. One of your questions was whether it is geopolitically affecting us very deeply. Our economy, our politics will be affected by it. And I saw a video that Indian soldiers it goes back long ago. Indian soldiers released Palestine from Ottoman Empire. There's a video doing now. So, we are deeply linked. Congress regime supported Palestine for obvious reasons, as you know, and it goes to the credit of our Prime Minister. He dehyphenated our relationship with Palestine and Israel, So, the reactions, I did a piece that world reactions to this crisis, and reactions from India is sadly confused.
But why is it confused is my question.
That is largely to do with the Israelis as well, because Israelis, I think their PR is the worst in the world. They believe in their firepower, they believe in the solid support they have, and they feel that they have a legitimate cause. Now they have a legitimate cause, but they don't do anything to educate the people. Whereas the other side, left and Islamic fundamentalist, their media presence and their street presence is much bigger. I told the Israeli embassy spokesman here, I said, your PR is horrible, you don't tell anything to anybody, So that is a problem. That is why people do not know.
But there is also this mentality, Mr. DK-giri.
Sure.
As you make these observations, yes, narrative building is an issue, PR is an issue.
Yeah.
But there is this mindset. The mindset is inherent, isn't it? Isn't the mindset that says what the Hamas did, let's just not talk about it. Let's just focus on what Israel is doing.
Yeah, that's rational.
And entities like IUML are deeming what the Hamas is doing as resistance. So you enter a place, you butcher innocents and babies at that, and you burn them alive, you parade them naked on the streets of Gaza after brutalizing them. This is resistance.
No, I agree with you. They do it for their purposes, their vested interest. But you see, this is again the reaction to this crisis. We are not looking at the cause and effect. We are looking at the history. See, history is always there for everything.
No, I am looking at the effect.
Sure, no, I am not talking. I agree with you.
Effect here, sir, because if these are Indian citizens who are actually saying that let's broad brush this and say let's legitimize this, find a way of legitimizing this,
that is
then
stupid.
we as Indians should be concerned, because tomorrow they may do the same here in our country.
No, I don't agree at all. That is stupid. That's why I am saying the analysis itself is very muddled. You have to look at the causes. 7th October, then what happened afterwards. Don't go back to history. And do people know? That's why I said the PR is bad. Israel offered 5 times two-state solution.
Yeah.
And all 5 times Palestine, not Hamas, all Palestine refused it, including Yasser Arafat with 3 infamous no. Where he said no existence of Israel, no negotiation with Israel, no peace with Israel. Even Palestinians do not want an Israel state. That is the problem. It is not just the Hamas.
Solution, he was about to come and he said, I was worried I will be assassinated. That's the explanation he gave later on, but he never turned up. But sir,
you see,
the thought continuum does exist. If this was the kind of brutality that was meted out to the non-Muslims in Jammu and Kashmir in 1947 between the 22nd and the 26th of October, it was a similar brutality that was meted out in the 90s in our country, and it's what we have seen manifest the 7th or 8th of October. So is there not an ideological continuum, and is the argument then made that they may have ideological moorings in Bharat also?
Or to put it another way, 26/11, they could have said, and Pakistan in fact tried to make it that way, that look, we in Pakistan are good, but don't blame us for what is happening internally. So this kind of a confusion is quite normal for an aggressor, and this is what has happened in case of Hamas. They were well prepared on all fronts, not just on the front of terror, but also on how to reach out and sort of poison the minds of the world at large. Israel, since the question has been raised, was taken by surprise. So it took them some time to wake up and realize the enormity of what had fallen on them. So propaganda or reaching out to the world at large was a later reaction, and they've been slow at it, as anyone would be who has been attacked. You go to the police only after you recovered from the injuries or the surprise. So Israel has to be pitied for what happened to them, and it has to be sympathized with for what happened to their people. Something like that could happen to India, to any other country in the world. And I think Biden, in a statement the other day about India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor, was hinting that don't confuse Palestinians with the issue of Hamas, because Hamas had planned it for a variety of reasons. He put it crudely, saying that because of this corridor. I don't agree with that. But what he was saying basically was, in his lucid, one of the lucid moments, was that please wake up. This could affect anyone else in the world. So your question whether it could affect India or our region, perhaps it could.
No, history is rife with such ideological continuum that is moored in this kind of barbarism, that justifies this kind of barbarism. Direct Action Day in our country? No Khali, Mopala riots. If you go back to history and even current day, Sartan se juda, what was the whole thought process? So,
one string. You may call it resistance. It is plain and simple jihad. The fundamentals of the whole issue is jihad. And what Sandeep ji just said about Waqf, that's one of the most potent weapons aspects of jihad. And India,
and Waqf Act, they have free run in
1995 Waqf Act is one of the worst legislations, most self-destructive legislations India has made. In its guilt trip, in Congress's guilt trip after Babri demolition, and to overcompensate for stuff, and we may in near future we may have a lot many Gazas here. We will have Gazas here, because Waqf land is once Waqf, always Waqf is the motto there in their on their website. So, these are just different faces of the same monster, same creature. And, it cannot exist without Hamas. A Palestine cannot exist without Hamas. The whole idea of, exterminating Jews and, this land, hamara hi rahega. Ye Hamas ke bina ho hi nahi sakta. Hamas will be there. It is that face that shows you the terror of the whole this thing, and then comes the victimhood, then comes the so it is all part of the seamless part of jihad, and this we should not have any, at least India, and I would say India that way has been waking up pretty quickly. We should not have any we should not be inventing excuses not to look at the
DK Giri wanted to say something, then I'll come to you, Sangeet Ravi ji.
Yes, well, I would not equate Hamas with entire Palestine. Palestine has been there for 100 years or even more. Hamas came only now, and Hamas should be exterminated. It's
but
a
Hamas
terrorist
got
organization.
elected by the Palestinians in 2000.
It's an even Hitler was elected, but it is a terrorist organization. They should be exterminated, and after that, the Palestine should be settled. We are for two-state solutions. Palestine, but I will not brush the entire Islam as jihadist actually. There are jihadists in Islam, but there are different interpretations of Sufis in Islam, and there are other.
Correct, but are the moderates calling out the radicals, sir? Ask that question, sir. Even here, look at the IUML is supposed to be largely moderate, even though it finds its DNA from Muslim League of Jinnah.
One input.
The IUML took exception to Dr. Tharoor, didn't they?
IUML is not moderate, so I'm talking about the founder of Hamas.
But IUML says they are far moderate than PFI.
The founder, one of the founders of Hamas, his son is giving testimony about the barbarity of Hamas. He is telling in the television how barbaric the Hamas are. They nail the civilians. You know, they use them as shields. They smuggle through these tunnels. So there are people who are opposing Hamas. So there are Muslim. Palestine ambassador is opposing Hamas.
Has the Palestinian Prime Minister opposed the Hamas, sir? Has the Palestinian Prime Minister said no? Has he rejected the Hamas? Has Saudi Arabia
ambassador to United Kingdom has called out Hamas? He said we are for non-violence and negotiation.
The Palestinian Prime Minister has not yet criticized the Hamas and said that the Hamas should allow the Gazan citizens and Palestinian people to leave Gaza.
If he does that. He would be killed if he does that. The fellow sitting in UK, so he could say that in Israel, in Palestine, you cannot. They are in total control over Hamas.
So you are holding the gun, you are nailing somebody, you are shooting somebody, and then saying I am victim. How is this possible?
No, Palestinians are victims of Hamas. You are saying yourself, they are Hamas cruelty. So,
but who's
Mahmoud Abbas cannot say it now. His ambassador sitting in UK could do that.
But our leaders, our voices within the political fraternity in our country and also within the Muslim community in our country, are they openly calling out the Hamas for their barbarity on the Gazans themselves?
Ignore them. We have to support our government, and government has taken the right stand. We should not give them any legitimacy. You are in fact giving them credibility. They have no voice.
No. It's easy to say let's not look there.
Yes.
But if that's going to be a problem, you cannot ignore a problem. You got to address it. No, you got to address it, saying that there has to be clarity. Yes.
No, Ananda, it is always said that they are in a small minority. I don't buy this theory, because look at when this country was partitioned. It is always argued that there was a small minority which was in favor of the partition and a dominant Muslim population didn't want. I completely find this a trash argument. Ultimately, it is the people, it was the mass support to the Indian Muslim League that led to partition of this country.
The votes came from today's UP, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Hyderabad, Telangana.
90% was for
90% was for the
somebody sent me a book today, and today only I was reading about the massacre in Calcutta, the way it happened, and Gandhi after 2-3 days, when the Hindus started retaliating, then Gandhi went to Calcutta and asked Gopal Patha that you please renounce the violence. When the Hindus were victims. What I'm saying a little bit, I'm deviating from. Look, Turkey has called Hamas as the freedom fighter, right? In all Islamic
Qatar has not condemned. The Hamas leaders are sitting in Qatar.
Qatar, all the terrorists, the goons, those who are leading the terrorist organizations,
Taliban,
they are well placed
Hamas,
in Qatar.
All of them are in Qatar. Zakir Naik is in Qatar.
Qatar is hosting them. Qatar is funding them.
$3 billion.
Remember why I am worried. I am worried about my country. I am not worried about what is happening 10,000 miles away from India. I am worried about my country. Because the moment there is a CAA, on the roads, hitting the roads in a minute, even a puncharwala knows that what is going to how it is going to hamper his interest. Why I always have been raising this question that look, for whom we are fighting, their descendants who partitioned this country, those people who from Afghanistan, from Bangladesh, Pakistan. They have been illegally infiltrated in this country. Their forefathers partitioned this country, and the Muslims of this country are hitting the states for them.
Batting for the illegals.
Batting for them. This is a big concern. Why I am saying that? Because pan-Islamism is ingrained in the theology of Islam. Until and unless Gandhi tried to respond it. Gandhi tried to respond it through spiritual Hinduism. Gandhi failed. political Islam can be responded only with the political Hinduism.
Sir, my argument, I have the deepest respect for the Mahatma, but him backing the Khilafat movement, which was supposed to be establishing a caliphate in Turkey, doing that led to what?
That is what I know.
And the irony is, Mahatma was supporting, advocating the Khilafat movement, Jinnah was opposing it.
Ambassador, I'm giving you on 4th of...
Yeah, he was opposing it.
Ambassador, sir, on 4th of... Anand, interestingly, on 4th May 1940, Gandhi is writing in Harjan, a Muslim rule in India would always be preferable to me than the British rule. Can you expect Hindu Mahasabha supporting Gandhi on this count? Gandhi is writing in Harijan. I am on record to your audience. Gandhi is writing in Harijan, a Muslim rule in India will always be preferable to 4th May 1940.
Yeah, because around that time the seeds of partition had already been sown, because the Bombay province itself had been separated, Gujarat had been moved out.
Look,
so the seeds had been sown. And Veer Savarkar had predicted it.
Yes. 10 seconds. When the insurgency was at its peak in Jammu and Kashmir, what the Muslim countries were doing? They were also saying that they are the freedom fighters. We supported Palestine, but did Yasser Arafat or the Palestine leaders supported India on Kashmir issue? No. They worked as Islam, monolith Islam. There are a lot of divisions within them. I don't deny. But
they come together when it is
we and they did it as Hindu land, and therefore they were fighting.
Correct. The only serious challenge is coming from the Arabic world now, the Saudi and UAE, because they are smart. They know that the oil economy is, it's finite, and that is probably going to deal a blow.
Game of another 20 years.
No, it's not just about a game of one is the thought continuum, but the other aspect, and towards the end, because the last 3-4 minutes, so let's focus on that. How much is it going to impact Bharat's growth story? How much is it going to stop our manufacturing process, exports? Because this entire region is in conflict now. You had the breadbasket on the one hand, which is Ukraine. That's going on for nearly 2 years. Suddenly nobody's even thinking about Ukraine, but it's still going. And now you've got this entire region where bulk of the trade passage happens. It's being choked.
I'll give you 2 examples. The judgment yesterday in Qatar. Now that is horrific judgment, especially when you see that the head of that company, the Omani company, he was allowed to go back to his country without even trial. But because they are Indians, and because Pakistan was instigating Qatar, they have been given the death sentence. The second thing is, even if it does not affect India directly, if the war spreads, let's say to Middle East, any part of the Middle East, we have millions of our people working there and contributing to the economy of all the Gulf states. If they start coming back, obviously all the remittances, we are the largest remittance receiving country in the world, quite a substantial portion from Gulf. We will be affected. Our exports will be affected. That is the economic part. But there is also the political part. That who do you side with? Do you abandon Israel to its devices? Do you side with Russia or China, or do you side with the voices of reason, even within the Arab world? So there are hard choices waiting in case the conflict persists and continues.
So what choices should we make?
I have a slightly different...
And will that have an impact going towards the general elections? Is this going to further create an opinion down the ground, or is it largely superficial within television news studios and on ground some other realities matter?
I have a slightly, and very quickly, Ananda, I have a slightly different take on this. I think, and very cynically, I think every developing or sensible nation has found opportunity in war. India is now one of the growing exporters of arms, etc., etc. So that is one aspect. India is already playing a outsized role, not just politically, diplomatically, but if you see the voice of Israel is massively amplified by Indians on social media, and that is bothering the left and other nations. So stuff like that. In this multipolar world where in some ways America's influence is this thing, there are two full-blown wars raging, one in Taiwan probably waiting to happen, etc. India should actually keep its head cool and see what is best for its own self-interest and play it well.
So far what we are doing is just engaging with all the nations. We are not part of any mediation process. I think we've got information to that extent also, that we are just looking at trying to get back to peace. The aspect is demolition of the terror infrastructure is something which we back Israel on. But we have also taken a clear position that we believe in the two-state philosophy of Israel and Palestine. So I think we've been clear, and we are not getting into any mediation at this point. We are saying let's engage, let's keep the engagement on, and Biden has also said let this not derail the Abraham Accords, the IME ECC, but there will be a delay. There are other strings who don't want this to happen. Sangeet Ragi, final word.
Certainly, I think,
and that will help. That will affect us.
I don't think that even in the Arab world or in the Middle East, all the Muslim countries want war to expand, because they also understand this, that this is going to harm them, very deeply to their economy.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for taking the right stand on this very, very special edition. Thank you. We're going to take a very short break, but stay with us. On the other side, conversation with somebody who was trolled but recently has been trending for his movie UT69. Stay with us.
Hello, Moto.